Think Planner, a TV show wherever you had 8 human beings traveling 12,000 miles above 50 days, and no concept precisely how they would do it. How was the rear horror for the crew over racing through the planet, that comes to its drama finding on Saturday. The pairs were taking into account the price of a solitary air ticket of London to Singapore, in cash money, the capture creature, they couldn't get a solitary flying. Oh, and they weren't permitted banking cards or smartphones. And had to verify in at 5 checkpoints on the path, just training the position of the following one while they arriving. The travel would get in amazing sights, emotion epiphany, supernatural weather, and nanny goat polo. Affirmative, nanny goat polo. In innumerable probable options each solitary date, all how was departure to get a lot more than rather than a easy hazard evaluation shape for the manufacture crew. It's been massively stimulating, says Mark Sabin, execution manufacturer of Racing Through the Planet for Workshop Lambert. Yet I love making things how frighten myself. So there was the problem, undertaken up by the teams, 5 begun the racing, and 6 pairs took portion in all, but 1 crew had to be replaced in the at first scene due to a household disaster, and 1 was removed at the at first control point. It's been a year in the manufacturing, explains Mark. We got 2 aid producers to do a reconnaissance at first. It's all really so making in theory, looking at timetables and things. But before who does it for actual, you don't aware wherever the difficult situation might rest. Of the impoverished sods had to do the factual travel once again as they were assigned to one of the teams. He was really stoic and didn't speak them before the really end, although as lot as probable, we requested it to sense love a dry work. Time things love visas and vaccines to each imaginable nation were graded in preliminary. Down there were several things they hadn't mind on. We found out exchange places are never close the major hubs, he says. Or web cafes were so deficient, since everyone has smartphones currently. Things love how were very helpful to discover of. The teams were, the absence of knowledge in preliminary which was event was portion of the shaw's beautiful, he says. They were taking into account a license to go wherever they requested, says Mark. It was so essential they belonging their own travel. And it done it more than dynamical. All they did was their own judgment. So while we had Darren and Alex vision the elephants in Cambodia, Joke and Felix departure ascent in China, it was their judgment to expend their period or cash how path, to include those experiences. This entire racing was a balance sheet among the rate and the expertise. It's a one day in a lifetime travel. If you include the prospect to halt in paddy fields, or race front, which do you prioritize? Can you journey deftly and include these experiences too much? Requested if he always doubted the size could job, Mark says, all the way before the day we set off of Greenwich. It was all a jump in the unidentified. This embedded crews were wonderful since they had to do the identical travel as them, asleep near them on the coach, they weren't taking into account a 5-star inn. So they were nearly love a household, in its ups and downs. Or time we had made recce's, the teams found bits of the planet that were completely remarkable. Joke and Felix went off the beaten path, making nanny goat polo. It was so exciting possessing those windows in the planet. Down there was as well a CEO of photo traveling over the teams, and they had GoPro cameras while down there wasn't as lot area, love in ship cabins, importance the cameras were down there 24 several hours a day, of the time they woke up. Drones were utilized too much, to seize the scenery. A security advisor treated on position in several places, and down there was a care supporting car in location in several countries, traveling and time or so over the teams. Yet we had to be sympathetic, says Mark. Down there was a typhoon in Vietnam, and the top winds in the pre-Caspian Sea intended all the teams were twisted, on executive board the identical ship. Time he initially mined it would do large TV, particularly as all teams happened by opportunity to be on the identical ferry boat, how since reduced while they were jammed for 5 days in worsening facility. But down there were more than positives rather than negatives. We had so lot period, that is so extraordinary in TV. Down there were true epiphanies on the path. It's not frequently you get to move out of the rat racing, represent on your lifetime and which it's all on. With hope it all looks stylish. But we were rowing off love mad by the shallow.